Hello everyone and welcome back for episode number 33 of my Rising Above Adversity AFC Bournemouth save. Now, today's episode is going to be a little bit different as I won't be bringing you any games, and the reason for that is, of course, it is the end of pre-season and coming towards the end of the transfer window. So what I thought I would do for today's episode is take you through an in-depth look at the players that we've brought in over the summer, the players that we've let go, and just have a general look at how the squad is shaping up coming into the season or for this season. So you can see, first up, I've got the finances page up for you on the screen. So I just wanted to quickly show you how we're looking financially. Of course, I don't think I've shown you this for a while, so I thought that would be the best place to start. And you can see financially, as you would expect, we're doing brilliantly. Currently got 35 million in the bank. We was allocated a budget of 42 million for the season. I told the board that my expectations was to finish in the top half. Now, of course, in my head, that's not really my expectations. We're going to be pushing for the top 6 this year, but that's what I told the board. I think I could have had an extra 10 million to spend if I told the board that I wanted to qualify for the Europa League, but I decided to, play it a little bit safe and just, 42 million is was more than enough for me to spend. So I didn't want to spend too much time talking about the finance, but there you go. I just wanted to quickly show you that. Of course, we've got the new stadium coming after this season, so that will also boost us financially, and we're just really healthy in that regards at the moment. But let's now move on to the transfers and show you the business that we've done over the course of the summer. Right, so we brought in 9 players. Now, I know it's only showing 8 there, but we also brought in Debuchy on loan for the season. Again, of course, he was on loan here last year. We extended that for another year, but for some reason, it's not showing up on this screen. So, yeah, brought in a total of 9 players for an expenditure of 39 million. We also let 8 players go, either on loan or free transfers or for transfer fees over the summer, for a total of 22.5 million. I think we've done really well in the transfer market this year, so I'm going to take you through each individual player that we brought in this year, and then we'll talk about some of the players that left the club. Now, the first thing that I was focused on when the season ended, when I was looking at players to bring in, was the fullbacks area. Now, the fullbacks area have been really unsettled for me during this series. I don't think we've really had a permanent fixture at the fullback area, except for in my first season when we had Simon Francis at right back and Charlie Daniels at left back. But after that, again, as I said, we haven't really had, some 2 players at left back and right back that have made them positions their own. And this summer, I really went out and looked for players that could do that, younger fullbacks that can make that position their own for a number of years. And the first person I feel like that can do that was Para from Cruzeiro for 1.9 million. And this was a real bargain. 22 years old. You can see his value's already gone up to 4.6 million. And now he doesn't look spectacular really in any area, but all round he just looks brilliant. Again, as I said, only 22 years old, so there's plenty of room for him to improve. And for me, he could become a top quality fullback or even or wing back. Has all the attributes to do that. I mean, good tackling, his marking's decent. Physically, again, he's very good, and just all round. But just particularly looking at the likes of his crossing, his dribbling, very good, and he's only going to get better. So yeah, really happy about Para coming in, especially for the fee that we were able to sign him for. Yeah, a very pleasing signing. But moving on, another fullback, and this time it was right back that we looked to strengthen. This signing was the one I was most excited about over the summer. Patrick Zadrahau from Victoria Pilsen for £4 million, 17 years old. Just look at him. He looks absolutely incredible. And what pleased me the most about this signing is it was through me kind of taking the time to look through some of the youth national setups. And yeah, I was trawling through Europe and Asia, pretty much every continent, trying to find some young stars, some potential bargains, and I came across this guy. He was already in the first team national setup for the Czech Republic, got him scouted, and as soon as I saw his attributes, I knew straight away this is a guy we needed to get signed up straight away before any big clubs spotted him. And as I say, his value has already gone up to 5.5 million. And I don't know what you guys think, but for me, I really feel like he's ready for first team football in the Premier League already. I mean, again, I know he's only 17. He's not even 18 until October. But look, 16 tackling. His crossing is good. His concentration needs work. But again, he's only 17. His marking's decent. His pace is good. Positioning is good as well. There's no reason for me why this guy cannot be started in the Premier League, and it will only help his development, of course, if he's getting regular football in the Premier League. So yeah, Patrick Zadrahal for £4 million, he's going to go on to become a star, in my opinion. He's got one cap for the Czech Republic. He's going to go on to get many, many more, and I cannot wait to see how he develops at the club. But moving on, now these next two signings weren't really exciting ones. They were kind of just back up. First, Nathan Redmond on loan from Manchester United for the season. Didn't pay a fee to bring him on loan, as you saw, but it's just a bit of a backup option really on the wings. Of course, we've got Joaquin Correa, we've got Ntep. Munir left, of course, so he was only on loan for the season. We also sold, as you might have seen, Tovin over the summer, so we needed some options on the wing. Redmond will be that man. We've also got a future fee agreed on him for 4.1 million, which is quite cheap. So, if he impresses during this loan spell, we may sign him on a permanent deal. And then we've got Jack Butland. Again, just a bit of backup, not a really a special signing, not really outstanding to be honest. But I was looking at bringing in more English players over the summer, of course, to fill the quota needed. And Jack Butland came in on a free transfer after Stoke got relegated. Chelsea, Man City were interestingly in for him, but he chose to come to us. He's only going to be back up here, so I wouldn't say I was happy about this deal, but it's a decent signing there for Butland. And the next one, Nabil Fekir. Now this was the highest transfer fee paid over the summer for Nabil Fekir. 13.75 million, could potentially rise to about 17 or 18 million, I think. Now, of course, Gordino was on loan here from Bayern Munich, last season. So when he left, I really needed to add quality in the middle of the park, and in my opinion, Fekir will definitely do that. You can see he's very highly rated by my assistant. Technically he's excellent, but I am trying to work on his passing a little bit. Of course, he's 25 now, so he's not going to improve a massive amount, but a few little things such as his passing. Mentally he's very good, and physically he's excellent as well. Very good pace, can play in the middle of the park, and also fill in on the wings as well. So yeah, really happy about bringing Fekir in. Will add a lot of quality to the middle of the park. And very pleasing that we managed to get a deal done for him. Right, so next up we've got Andres Cubas from Vélez in Argentina for 4.3 million. Now you may have noticed Sami Khedira left us over the summer, so we needed another player that can play in that holding role. And interestingly, he's only 5'5", and his best position is in the defensive midfield area, but I feel like he's a little bit different from the kind of defensive midfielders we've got already. Sidorchuk, although he is he's very good technically, he's much more of a kind of bruiser in that central defensive midfield position. I would compare him more to Makelele kind of player. This guy seems a lot more in the mold of, I want to say, Pirlo. Of course, he's not anywhere as good as Pirlo, but he's kind of more that kind of player. He'll sit in front of the back four, kind of dictate play from a deep area. Very highly rated by my assistant. You can see his current ability of is 3.5 stars, and with a potential ability of 4.5 stars. So to get him in for such a cheap fee, you can see his value's already risen to nearly 10 million. In his short time at the club. I was really happy with the signing. Working on a few things with him, such as his strength. Trying to get that up. Might try and work on his passing as well, so we'll work on a few things there. But again, 22 years old, so he's got a lot of time to improve, but he looks very, very good, and we've done well to get him in for the fee that we did. But now we'll move on to the final two signings of the summer. And first up, we've got Benjamin Nunes, brought in from Juventus for £8 million. This guy looks absolutely fantastic. It was really interesting actually, because at the kind of beginning of the summer, I was looking at this guy. I got a scout report on him. It looked like he was interested in joining. Juventus were kind of happy to let him go for around 6 or 7 million, I think it was. But then he signed a new deal at Juventus, and at that point I thought, it'll probably be dead. The deal would be dead. But we offered to bring him in on loan. Juventus were happy to let him go on loan for the season, but for some reason he just kept rejecting the chance to come on loan. So I didn't think that he wanted to join, but I tested the waters anyway. I put in a bid of around 7 million. Juventus said they wanted 8, so I said, okay, that's fine. And when we got to the contract negotiations, he seemed more than happy to join, and here he is at the club. Spanish central midfielder, and look at those technical stats at the age of 21. Technique is 16, passing 18, 18 first touch, 16 dribbling. He's described as a wonder kid in the game, and he's probably going to become one of the top midfielders in my opinion. He looks absolutely fantastic, and for under 10 million I feel like we've got a massive bargain here. So really excited to see how Nunes develops at the club. And finally, we've got Anthony Martial from Monaco for 6.5 million. Of course, in the previous episode I mentioned that I would be maybe in the market for a striker. Now, this is not someone who's going to come in and replace Vieto. This guy is probably going to come in as an option, a rotation option, or a bit of backup. He's only 22 years old. I was a bit surprised Monaco were so happy to let him go for such a cheap fee, because he looks like he could become brilliant, really. His value's already gone up since he's come to the club. Working on a few things such as his composure, and some other areas that I want to work on with him. But at the age of 22, he could become a brilliant striker. So I feel like we've got two quality options. Of course, Vieto didn't quite perform to the level that I was expecting last year, but hopefully he can come good this year. And they're two kind of different strikers. Of course, Vieto is more of a poacher in the box, whereas Martial is a lot more physical, probably a lot more suited to the Premier League actually than Vieto. So we'll see how he does. Really happy with that. But that's it for the transfers that we've done over the summer. Those are the players. Really happy with the business we've done in terms of bringing players in. I feel like we've massively strengthened the squad. We've also brought in a lot of versatile players as well, which should stand us in good stead, of course, for the amount of games that we're going to play this year. If we, do well in the league and in the cup, such as the Europa League, we get far in the Europa League and then the other competitions. But we'll move on to the players that left the club this summer. We've done pretty well as well in that regard. That's something we've done quite well, I feel like, in this series, getting good money for players. You remember, of course, on gender in the previous summer and in other previous years, we've done really well to get good transfer fees for players that we're looking to sell ultimately. Christian was the first man to leave the club this summer for a transfer fee of 6.75 million, and looking at his value now, we probably could have got a little bit more for him. But this is a player, as I mentioned, he's been quite unlucky with a long-term injury since he came to the club. Of course, when we signed him, he was our record transfer. He came in for a record transfer fee, and I had really high hopes for him at the time, but of course those long-term injuries have kind of halted his development, and he just hasn't really progressed since he's come to the club. And it was time really just to kind of move on from him and bring in more players that have got more ability or more potential than him. So we've done really well to get most of the transfer fee that we paid for him. I believe we paid about 7 million for him, so we've recouped most of that, and hopefully he can go on to have a decent career with Wolves or whoever he ends up playing for. But that's Ollie Christian gone this summer. We also let go Sven Ulreich on a free transfer. He was generally really unhappy being back up at the club, so I just decided to let him go at the end of his contract. Harry Arter has also left the club, of course, one of the few players that still remained with us from our championship season, alongside Steve Cook, who is still actually here and a part of the squad. But Harry Arter just generally wasn't that good anymore, or good enough for us anyway. So we allowed him to go at the end of his contract. Jelle Vossen has gone back to Belgium for £1 million. We recouped again most of the transfer fee that we paid for him a couple of seasons ago. I think we paid just over £1 million for him. So to get most of that back is pleasing. Didn't play a lot last year. He's always been backup really ever since he came through the door. So to get rid of him, bringing someone like Martial who's much better than him, that was really Good business in my opinion. And then Sami Khedira left the club next for £7 million to Aston Villa. A bit of an unexpected one. I wasn't going into the summer, looking to get rid of him, but I looked at him. He's 31 years old now, of course, so from here he's only going to decline, and we started to see a decline in him last season. So to actually make a profit on him, I felt like this was superb business. I mean, he's not going to get any better. Maybe he could have been kept around as a kind of a tutor for one of the younger players. He's definitely got fantastic mental attributes, but I felt like this was the best time to cash in on him. Gave us 2 decent years of service. He wasn't spectacular by any means, but he done a good job in the centre of the park for us over those 2 seasons. So, I was happy to let him go, but I will say that he was a good servant for us. So that's Sami Khedira gone to Aston Villa for £7 million. And then the only other notable transfer to talk about really is Tovin to Espanyol for £7.75 million. Of course, we only signed Tovin last summer for £5 million for Rennes. He's another player we've managed to make a profit on. If I show you his stats for last season, he only played 11 games with an average rating of 6.69 in the league. He really was a bit part player. I only remember one outstanding game he had, of course, in that semi-final first leg, was it? That he scored 2 pretty amazing goals in that first leg against Newcastle. Yeah, it was the first leg, wasn't it, away from home. He had one outstanding game the entire season. Apart from that, he just didn't really play that much. And to make a profit on someone who's been a real bit part player, and this season it would be even more. There would be even less game time for him, I would think. So to make a bit of a profit on him, I was really happy with that. And yeah, Tovin has left us to join Espanyol. So that concludes our transfer business for the summer. As I said, I'm really pleased with what we've done in terms of the players that we've brought in, and also the players that we've been able to move on. So the squad is looking really good, and we've actually played 1 game so far. So I'll take you to that right now. So yes, our first Premier League game of the season resulted in a 5-2 win at home to QPR. Brilliant start to the season. Just the start I would have hoped. Of course, last season, the start of the season was a bit of a thriller, 4-4 at home to West Brom, but we got off with a win. And look at that, Luciano Vietto getting a hat-trick. This is the perfect start for him, of course. It's a big season for him, his second season at the club. Got a lot to prove in the Premier League, so that's a brilliant start for him, and hopefully more of the same we'll see. Hopefully we'll see more of the same throughout the season. But looking at the games coming up next, of course we've got the Europa League. We're actually straight into the Europa League group stage, which is quite interesting. I don't think the last time we won the Capital One Cup, we went into a qualifying round in the Europa League, so we must have qualified for our league position. I didn't look at who won the FA Cup. So we're in the Europa League, we're going straight into the group stages. Next up, we've got Swansea and Wolves, and I'm going to leave it here now for this episode. But what I'll do is I'll come back next episode, and we'll have 2 games. We'll have Swansea away, and then we'll have Wolves at home. We'll also have the Europa League group stage draw in between that as well, I should think. So again, as I said, I'm going to leave it here for now. I know I didn't bring any games in this episode, but if you enjoyed this, please do remember to leave it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to the channel just yet, please do subscribe to the channel. But for now, it's been the Halfback, and I'll see you guys in a bit.